Although President Obama is trying to woo Vietnam on numerous issues like trade and regional security, one thorny issue remains. There is no fig leaf for the U.S. on this one. That is the legacy of Agent Orange. Over 4 decades have passed since U.S. soldiers left Vietnam. The legacy of the war for many ordinary Vietnamese is the horror of dioxin poisoning, which has affected an estimated 3 to 4 million people over the past 40 years. Agent Orange was used by U.S. forces to deforest large areas of jungle. But the herbicide also caused cancers and birth defects in many of those exposed to this, and in their children and grandchildren. Washington has repeatedly been asked to help children in Vietnam living with health conditions due to their parents' exposure during the war. But the U.S. government has refused to date to accept any liability for this enduring legacy of the American war. And experts say the U.S. military sprayed around 12 million gallons of Agent Orange across Vietnam during the war. That is enough to fill 20 standard swimming pools. And our correspondent Tony Chun has this report.
Today, Da Nang is a peaceful and prosperous city. But 50 years ago, this was the first sight of Vietnam for many U.S. soldiers. This is the beach where U.S. combat soldiers first landed in Vietnam in 1965. 10 years later, they left after a defeat that cost 50,000 lives and would haunt the United States for decades. But despite the bitter memories, many American soldiers are now returning to Vietnam. Chuck and Doc, both former American soldiers, were apprehensive about coming back. But to their surprise, they found themselves welcomed. Doc now visits every year, and Chuck has moved to Vietnam. They're both regular visitors at this school for children with disabilities caused by Agent Orange poisoning. They say they feel an obligation to help.
Their ability to learn is hampered, I think, to a certain extent.
These children are the lucky few. Most don't get the sort of education or specialist care. The impact of the dioxins has affected as many as 4 million Vietnamese, leading to cancers and terrible birth defects. Mrs. Tay had no idea her son was sick, but by the age of 13, it became apparent something was very wrong. Now 41, he can't do anything for himself and needs 24-hour care. His sister is 3 years younger. Her symptoms have followed the course of her brother. And she knows when she sees him, she's looking at the fate that awaits her. Their mother wishes the US government would acknowledge the damage Agent Orange has caused and offer some sort of help.
I'm old, and day by day I see my son and daughter suffering from the effects. I need them to give us money so I can get someone to help look after them. Now I'm 77 years old and weak, and in the future I can't look after them.
That is tragically not a problem Chuck has to worry about. He's seen a number of the children he's worked with suddenly pass away.
And she was, I think, 28, 29 years old, vibrant and smiling and laughing and interacting all the time and, enjoying, what semblance of life that she had. But then quickly, in a week's time, she was gone.
It's not been easy coming back to Vietnam for Chuck, but he's dealing with the ghosts of the past. He wishes the US government would do the same.
They've got an obligation to resolve the issues that they caused in Vietnam, vis-a-vis the Agent Orange issue as well as unexploded ordnance. We, the American military, did what you see here. I mean, it's because of us that all of these kids and all of the Vietnamese people suffer.
Tony Chang, CCTV, Central Vietnam.